Hi, and welcome to this Impact tutorial. In this video, we'll be going through reservations. With Impact reservation programs, you can create and maintain reservable facilities and resources for each property, such as conference rooms and freight elevators, as well as control the calendar-based reservation system for those facilities and resources. The first step we want to do is create our conference room. So we'll go to Setup and Master Lists, and then we'll scroll down to Facility Resource Setup. Our first step is creating our conference room, so we'll go select New Facility Resource. First, we want to select our property, so we'll say Southwest Plaza, and then we give our facility a name, so we'll call it Conference Room. Description is where you can include a brief description of the conference room. This could be a place where you describe the seating arrangements or how many seats available, the type of room it is. We'll just say large conference room with seating for 12. And you can keep adding information as desired. These are your required fields, but these optional ones allow you to add contact info, terms and conditions, disclaimer, internal notes. Shared access properties allows you to share this conference room with other properties. So maybe you have like a campus of 3 buildings really close to each other. You can give access to those other buildings in the campus, so any tenant in one of those 3 buildings can use this conference room. Time and rate. This is going to allow you to modify, you can modify what hours the conference room is available. So you can select if it is an all-day reservation, if tenants can only make reservations for the entire day, and here you can choose if this is going to be available for which days of the week, or if it's just available for weekdays, the hours, and you can also include an after hours time. So here we have available is from 7 to 9, but maybe our after hours is going to be, let's say 5 to 9 would be an after hours. So that way you can distinguish, regular hourly rate. You can include, $50 an hour, but maybe after hours is $100. So I'll just reset this. You can also include like a gap time between reservations. So if someone makes a reservation from 8 to 9, you can have it so no one can make another reservation for 30 minutes after it ends or an hour after it ends. That's really beneficial. So if, janitorial team needs to get in there and clean, or just for convenience, because you don't want to have reservation back to back, because you could have the reservation go over a little bit and you'll have people standing outside the door in the hallway waiting to get in. You can also include a maximum time per reservation. Moving up to our top right, you can include tenant options here. Tenant can view this calendar, tenant can make reservations. So from the tenant side, this would give the tenant the option of viewing the calendar when they log into Impact, and whether or not they can make reservations. So you do have the ability to control if they can see it and if they can create reservations as well. Moving down the list, tenant can create same-day reservations. This just gives them the option of whether or not they can create same-day reservations. Tenant can make recurring reservations if they can create like a reservation each week for the next 3 months, something like that. Tenants can select predefined add-ons. We'll get to add-ons and a little bit down the road on the training today, but this just gives the tenant the option of whether or not to select those add-ons. Approval needed when tenant creates reservations. So this would mean if a tenant creates a reservation, it has to be approved by management. And lastly, automatically approve management reservations. This is usually going to be enabled. That just means when management makes a reservation, it's automatically approved. Additionally, we have tenant reservations, hours allowed. So this is kind of a limit. If you want to say, tenants can only make 6 hours a week, 5 hours a month, or even like 3 times a month, to put a limit on tenants from making too many reservations. Tenant can make advanced reservations. This just means how far out can a tenant make a reservation. So you can cap it off at a year, but you can include like 3 months or whatever you desire. Tenant can modify reservation. So if a tenant makes a reservation, you can allow them to modify that a month prior, a few days prior, or not at all. The last option we have here are notifications. And our first notification is to send an email notification when a tenant creates, updates a reservation. So if you want to be notified when a tenant creates a reservation, you just enable that and choose in this drop down list. So this is going to be a list of like users and those on the TSR route, and you just choose whomever needs to be notified, and they will be notified when a tenant creates that reservation. The send email notification to staff before a reservation starts. This allows you to send an email to certain users 1 hour, 4 hours, a day before a reservation is supposed to start. So that's really good for maybe security, because they can go get that email 30 minutes before it's supposed to start and go unlock the conference room. Additionally, you can send an email after a reservation ends. Really good for maybe your janitorial team or your security person to go and lock up that conference room. You also have the option of making once you create the conference room, you can deactivate it and activate it there. The last thing I think I missed was the package introduction message. I'll explain the package introduction message when we go and create our reservation a little bit further in the training. But this is where you can include any sort of message in that package introduction. But once you have all the settings as you'd like, you can go ahead and save to create this conference room. So as far as creating the conference room goes, it's all done. So now we can start creating reservations, tenants can start creating reservations, but you do have some additional options that I'll go through, namely 3 additional things I wanted to talk about before we went and created a reservation. Our first is going to be facility add-on that I had mentioned a little bit earlier. The add-on is like something the tenant can use if they reserve the conference room. So maybe it's like a whiteboard or a projector, rolling TV, anything like that. Anything that maybe the tenant can use, like an amenity that they can use when they make this reservation. So you just want to select facility add-on, and adding an add-on is simple. We're under our Southwest Plaza. We'll select new add-on, and here you can add it. So we'll say projector. You can include the model, the serial number. We only have one. Cost is going to be how much does it cost to use this projector. So you can do it by hour, you can do it by reservation. So we'll just say it's $20 for each reservation. And you can apply this to just the conference room, or you can have it applied to all the facilities and resources. And category, you do have the option to categorize your add-ons, but right now we don't have any, so we'll just leave it uncategorized. We'll save it, and there our facility add-on is added. To update the categories, up here you can select add-on categories to add like electronics, amenities, whatever you would like there, and you can properly categorize it if needed. So now when someone creates a reservation, they can add on the projector if they choose. Here we have 2 options, layout setup and holidays and unavailable days. So layout setup gives the tenants the options to choose what layout they want. So maybe they want like a classroom style, semicircle style, a traditional conference room style, business layout. So you can set up layouts very easily. You just select new layout, and we'll say classroom, and you can describe it there if there's any additional cost. If this is a default layout, you can select yes, so that way when a reservation is created, this layout will be the default. But you just save it, and there you go. So you have the option of updating it. You can include an attachment, maybe if you want to include like a small like preview of what it looks like, a overhead layout. The little tag here allows you to add add-ons. So if a specific layout has an add-on, you can add that add-on to the layout, so when that layout's selected, the add-on is automatically applied, and then the little X is just to delete it. Lastly, you have holidays and unavailable days. So maybe for certain holidays, you don't want the conference room to be available. Maybe you're going to be doing like a deep clean, and so it's going to be unreservable for a week or a month. So you can come to holidays and unavailable days and just set up days the conference room won't be available. So you just select new date, and let's say January 1st through January 3rd. It's going to be clean. So we'll say it's cleaning, room unavailable. We'll want yes, as it's unavailable. And you can also copy this to other facilities resources. So if you have other conference rooms and this is like a holiday, you can apply the unavailability to all those at once. So we'll just select save, and there we go. So from the January 1st to January 3rd, it's going to be undergoing a cleaning, so it's going to be unavailable. And at this point, we are ready to go create our reservation. The last thing I wanted to mention was right here you have a little attachments option. So you can include photos and documents. So if you wanted to include photos of the room, maybe you wanted to include additional documentation, any kind of form, you can attach that there, and that will be available for the tenant when they go and create a reservation. So let's go. We'll go to tenant management, and we will go to reservation. So we can see here our conference room. We're in December, and there we go. We can see unavailable, so it locks those days down. Nobody can make a reservation. But let's say we have a tenant that said they want to reserve it for Monday from 9 to 11. So to create a reservation, very simple. You'll just select the number in the date box, and you'll enter the information here. So we'll select our tenant. It will be the Edward Financial Group. Start time is going to be 9. End time is going to be 11. And you can include the event name. We see our layout here. Recurrence, you can choose if this is going to be a recurring reservation, if it's going to be recurring daily, weekly, or monthly, but this is just a one-time event. Requested by, you can include that information. You can also include if there is a contact available, so we'll say Brendan. It's going to autofill their info there, and you have additional reservation notes if needed. So at this point, you can save the reservation. That's going to create it and take you back to the calendar, or you can click Save and Continue, and that's going to take us into the reservation. The reservation gets created, and we can also review it and update it if needed. So we can see the reservation information, the conference room information, and up here we have some options. So we have add-ons. If we wanted to add the projector, all we have to do is quantity 1, save it, and our projector is added. You can include any special attachments. So if the tenant maybe filled out some kind of form, you can attach it. You can include, you can create work orders for the reservation. So if the technicians needed to go in and set up the specific layout, you can create a work order for them. Facility details is going to include details for the conference room. And here you have the reservation package. So this is like an introduction package that you can send the tenant. That's going to include reservation info, an estimate, any sort of attachments, layouts, and you can modify what gets sent. So if you just want to include maybe the intro message that you set up in the facility resource setup, if you want to include maybe the estimate, any kind of details, you can do that. And then you just hit send reservation package, and that's going to email that to the person who requested this reservation. Or you can print it out, and that's going to allow you to maybe like save it as a PDF, save it for your own records. And here we see that reservation is created, and once the reservation is created, that is all we need to do. You can see a little ON that's explained down here. We have add-ons, we have notes. So any kind of red letter you see, that can be defined down here. The only other type of reservation that you would create is an event reservation. That's going to be different from a normal reservation. The reservation we created down here is just kind of a standalone one-time reservation. The event reservation is if you're in a scenario where maybe a company is having, maybe they're having a 10th anniversary party or a 50th anniversary party, and they want to book out a couple of days. So maybe in January 20th they want to book the conference room for the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. Maybe you have other conference rooms and they say, all the conference rooms you have, we want to book them all. Event reservation allows you to create an umbrella that's going to hold all of those reservations to kind of keep them together. So we go and create an event reservation. We select new event, and our event name, this is going to be, let's say, company anniversary, and the start date is going to be January 6th, and it's going to go until the 8th. And the tenant is going to be, let's say it's going to be Kelly McDonald here, and our contact info, let's see if we have any contacts. So we'll just say Kelly McDonald is our contact. Perfect. And so now we create our event, and now we can add reservations under this event. So we can go down to the bottom, and it will be for the Southwest Plaza. And what we want from the from and the to is we're saying from in this certain amount of time, we want to search for the open facility resources. So between the hours of 12 a.m. and 12 a.m., this is kind of going to search everything. It's going to pull up all of the availability that we have for these 3 days. So we can see, so for January 6th, the 7th, and the 8th, we have total availability. So let's say, they say we want to reserve the conference room, let's say 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. So this is going to check the availability of the conference room to see what spots are available. So it looks like for each day we have 8 to 3 available. If you had a bunch of conference rooms, you'd be able to see across all those conference rooms on what exactly is available. And all you do is check what you'd like to reserve, select reserve selected, and there we go. So for these 3 days, we have each of these we have this conference room reserved for this time under this event. So we go back, it's going to be a January event. We see event 1 there, company anniversary. So now when we go back to our reservations and we go to January, we can see event 1, reservation, event. So the event you probably won't use very often, but it's really good if you want to keep a whole bunch of reservations at a whole bunch of different conference rooms together under one single entity. So that's going to be the availability that you have. You can create a reservation, the tenant can create a reservation, but only you can create an event. The tenant won't be able to create an event, but again, most of the time, you'll just be creating the reservation by selecting the number in the date box and creating the reservation. As far as the tenant side, there is one thing you want to check when you make the reservation system available to the tenant. You want to make sure that the reservation program is enabled for them. To do that, you'll just go back out to Tenant Management, Tenant Portal Setup. We'll go to our Southwest Plaza property, and you want to make sure that the reservation is enabled here, because that is what shows the reservation icon for the tenant, allows them to go in, access the reservation calendar. So that's turned on, it's all saved. So now from the tenant side, when they go, and let's log in as a tenant here for Southwest Plaza, we'll log in as Brendan. We'll scroll down to our reservation calendar. So you'll notice it looks familiar. So they have the ability to create just the same. They can click the number in the date box, and they can see their own reservation. They can open it. They can update it. They can see it's going to be closed. And if they go to January, they can see this block is reserved. It's not going to show the tenant's name, but it will show reserved by other tenant. And they're able to create, update as defined by you. And it's really easy for them to go in, create the reservation, as well as you to go in and create the reservation. And that concludes this Impact tutorial. Just a reminder that Impact is customized for each client, and therefore your Impact system may differ from the information provided in this user guide. For further questions, you're always welcome to contact us at support@impactsolutions.com or submit a support request in the Impact system. We're always happy to help in any way we can.